Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. I also want to let everybody know before we get into the news that I appeared on the Tinfoil Hat podcast late last night with Sam Tripoli. If you guys want to check that out, I will leave a link to that in the description below, along with all the other show notes that regularly accompany each broadcast. We've got so much stuff to get through today. Might be difficult to do it on time. We've got some tips coming from my friend White Hat, talking about some possible comms that might be coming out regarding new disinformation on Russia. We are going to have a small update on the fire situation taking place right now as we speak in California. I've gotten so many messages from people just with a ton of different information, and I think you guys are going to like it. People are going to want to see what we've got going on. Also, tying into that, an update on that massive military exercise that the caller told us about the other night when we did the call-in show. We've also got a ton of new information about the whistleblower, the actual investigation regarding the the Ukrainian stuff and this fake impeachment we've got going on. Finally, Republicans are starting to fight back. That's great. Also, the Democrats are extremely scared about what's going to happen with this stuff. The Barr Association from New York has asked Attorney General Bill Barr to recuse himself from anything having to do with any Ukraine-related matters. Sounds like they're trying to put him into the same type of situation that we had Jeff Sessions in. Also, from Tracy Beans, we've got some information about the new star witness who testified very recently, and you're not going to want to miss that. And then finally, we've got even more clues that Hillary Clinton is more than likely preparing to run for president in 2020. So just everybody sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the show. We'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. When Noble Gold released the solid silver Trump 2020 Freedom Coin, they had no idea how successful President Trump would be or how much interest there would be in these coins. Now, 3 years later, the Commander-in-Chief has shown himself to be a rare leader of courage who follows through on his promises. And over at Noble Gold, they sold so many coins they had to make a second pressing. As a result, and by popular demand, they are now releasing this stunning, brand new Commander-in-Chief design to the world. This coin is highly unusual, not just because it's struck from an ounce of real .999 fine solid silver, but because it is handcrafted in America. Not even because it is such an incredible value, but because of its astonishing design features. You should see the contrast between the gleaming silver of the background and the cleverly wrought matte of President Trump's profile and the American flag. It's truly breathtaking. This beautiful coin would grace the desk, display cabinet, or shelf of any patriotic American supporter of Donald Trump. Be the envy of your friends, or buy for them as well, and treat yourself to one of these fabulous souvenirs today. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and use the code REDPILL78 to save $5 off per coin. This is a limited time offer, so make sure you get yours today. Go to www.TrumpCoin2020.com and use the code REDPILL78 to get $5 off per coin. All right, guys, thank you for sticking around. First of all, today, my good friend White Hat Cyber Raider 4 on Twitter sent me over this tweet from the U.S. Army. It says, "Disinformation is all over the internet. U.S. Army leaders want soldiers to be aware of tweets and posts created by foreign agents using disinformation tactics to spread divisiveness." Now, if you follow through on that tweet, it goes to an article which basically plays the whole Russia narrative, saying that Russians are sending disinformation over to confuse and basically disrupt soldiers and people in the military. Maybe, faking accounts by high-ranking military officials to even send stuff out. Kind of interesting. And then if we go over to this next tweet sent over by White Hat, it is a tweet from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And it says that this morning there was some sort of gathering at Stratcom in D.C. to talk about how CISA is working with government and industry partners to combat disinformation. Says to be successful will require a whole-of-society approach. So two different tweets about disinformation having to do with cybersecurity on the same day in relatively close proximity to each other. In speaking with my colleagues over on our Discord server, they seem to think that this could mean that there is going to be some sort of disinformation coming out soon. This is the kind of thing they do. They warn people about it, and then they actually produce the disinformation, and then they turn around and they say, look, we told you guys it was going to happen. So keep your eyes open, guys, and if you see anything major, then just remember it might be disinformation. All right, now here on the screen, I have the channel Logic Before Authority. This is the same guy who found those explosions using the weather satellite software in California. Yesterday, there was another 8 explosions, and there was actually a huge fire in the Los Angeles area. And he makes an excellent point, stating that fires are not going to be the most intense when they start out. They're going to kind of build up and become more intense as time goes on. So clearly, from the intensity of the fire and then from the information that he found here showing these actual explosions, it again points to the fact that this is a manufactured crisis. They are creating these fires for some reason. And as I stated last night on the podcast, again, the more fires they have in California, the more federal funding and aid money ends up going into California. So perhaps this is being done by the Black Hats in an effort to kind of siphon off resources and bring that back into California. Now, here on the screen is a video. I believe this is from some type of a trail cam, or this is amateur radio organization cam, and it's showing the live fires that were in California the other day when I made the video the first time. It's pretty interesting because you can actually see it happening live. It happens very slowly. This is a 12-hour video showing this column of smoke just gradually over the course of the day, pop up and just, kind of take over the area. But if you follow along using your mouse at the bottom, then you can actually see it happening much quicker. Unfortunately, I can't speed it up any faster than 2 times speed. But definitely, this is something that you might want to check out. I'd like to hear what you guys think. Other people in California, I had reports from people in the areas of these explosions, and they confirmed it. There definitely were explosions. So this is not your average forest fire taking place in California, especially not when you have them popping off in multiple places all across the state at the exact same time virtually. And the last piece here in regards to California, if you guys were listening on Saturday night during my live stream when we did the call-in show, someone had called in and said that, I believe it was a friend or a family member, they had been called up to active duty to participate in this training exercise happening at 29 Palms. And it's listed here in this article at military.com as unlike any exercise. It's a massive Marine Corps war game. Now, again, this is all happening at the exact same time as these fires are going off. And if you can tie that in to what took place previously, that theory that perhaps this was a military operation taking out cabal headquarters in deep underground military bases, perhaps this does tie in. But it says the Marine Corps hasn't done anything like it in decades. 10,000 Marines, sailors, and NATO troops have descended on Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center 29 Palms in California's Mojave Desert for a massive training exercise. The troops will be pitted against each other in a force-on-force battle as they prepare for a different kind of fight, one against an enemy with sophisticated equipment and skills. Most of the Marines participating are from the North Carolina-based 2nd Marine Division, which hasn't conducted a multi-regimental live maneuver exercise in decades. The unscripted Marine Air Ground Task Force Warfighting Exercise, or MWX, will run for days. In a Wednesday release announcing it, Marine officials called it unlike any exercise held at the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. An exercise of this scale, force-on-force, multi-regiment outfitted with significant information operations and unmanned aerial system assets, hasn't been conducted in the Marine Corps in my lifetime. Now, it will test Marines to operate against a thinking enemy, he added. That's something that was on General David Berger's mind since before he became the Marines' top general. So, if the Marines, the good guys here in America, if they are going to have to fight against a sophisticated black hat operation, this is exactly what what it would look like. They would more than likely have drones. They would more than likely have incredibly advanced technology, at least on par with what the good guys here in our military have. And they could be coming from any country in the world. Perhaps they even have an armed force that's made up of, I don't know what you want to call it, ultra sophisticated soldiers, manufactured soldiers, even, dare I say, clones or cyborgs. Just something to think about. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have any knowledge to say that there is, a sophisticated cyborg army out there. But from everything we know about the elite and their desire to, perfect technologies like cloning and, anything having to do with technology. You know what I'm talking about. The enhancement of humans, the idea that humanity needs to meld itself with technology and AI basically to create a new species. Elon Musk has talked about this. There are many people in the elite who seem to have a real focused interest in making this a reality, not only for what I would imagine would be a superior military force, but also for themselves so that they have the ability to basically live forever. Now, last year, Berger told military.com that the Corps needed to teach Marines leaders how to think on their feet. If they're someday up against a peer adversary such as Russia or China, they need to be prepared to face off against that graduate or varsity level thinking leader. I need them to figure out how they can outthink me. Furness said the Marine Corps wants to see how this division conducts operations against a mock adversary with capabilities as advanced as our own. So, what do you guys think? Do you know anything about this military exercise that's taking place? Are any of my viewers actually part of this Marine Corps regiment that is taking part in these sophisticated war games? I'd love to hear about it, you guys. If you do have anything you want to send me, you can send it to redpill78@protonmail.com. All right, now the whistleblower who we speculated and many others have speculated is Eric Ciaramella has acknowledged to the IC Inspector General additional anti-Trump bias for a third previously unknown reason. Perhaps it was that he got fired. The Clowns in America snitch and leaker who's trying to pass himself off as a whistleblower acknowledged to the Intel Community Inspector General additional anti-Trump bias for a third and previously unreported reason, according to sources who spoke to Fox News. So far, we know this Trump-Ukraine whistleblower is a Clowns in America officer who is a registered Democrat. We now know the whistleblower previously worked with Joe Biden in the White House when he was vice president. Now, Fox News is reporting that the whistleblower acknowledged to Mr. Atkinson additional anti-Trump bias. Though Fox News has learned that an additional element of possible bias was identified by the whistleblower, its nature remains unclear. Despite the obvious agenda to remove Trump from office, the Clowns in America officer insists his complaint is not politically motivated. Well, evidence is to the contrary. The whistleblower conspired with House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff and met his staffers before the complaint was even filed. Schiff even lied about his contact with the whistleblower when he told MSNBC viewers that we have not spoken directly with the whistleblower prior to the complaint being filed. This Clowns in America officer has no credibility, and it's no wonder why Adam Schiff is now saying the whistleblower will not be testifying to his committee. This right here could be the reason. His firing. Now, a viewer had sent me an email saying they had remembered that perhaps Melania had some hand in getting someone's assistant fired. Now, when Eric Ciaramella was vacated from his position, I believe he was the assistant to McMaster. Remember in that picture I showed yesterday, he was sitting right next to Melania. He did not look happy, and there looked to me to be some tension between the two of them. So was this additional bias the hatred that Eric Ciaramella had for not only Melania, but for President Trump? We will continue to keep an eye on this story, and I'm certain that more information will become available as the days progress. Now, in regards to this whistleblower not testifying, bringing his evidence before the Congress, House Republican leaders have finally acted. In addition to storming the SCIF yesterday, they have now sent a letter to leaking liar Adam Schiff, demanding that this alleged whistleblower testify and accusing Schiff of denial of due process. House Republican leaders, including Representatives Jim Jordan, Nunes, and McCall, sent a letter to Democrat Chair Adam Schiff demanding the alleged Clowns in America anti-Trump whistleblower testify in public. Schiff announced last weekend that the alleged whistleblower may not testify after all. This entire impeachment sham was based on the second-hand hearsay of this Clowns in America spy in the Trump administration. Republicans also accused Democrats of denial of due process. The House Republicans demanded that the alleged anti-Trump whistleblower testify before the sham impeachment committee. And here is the letter itself, addressed to Adam Schiff. Let's take a closer look. All right, says, we are surprised by your announcement that the committees will not receive testimony from the anonymous intelligence community employee whose complaint initiated the so-called impeachment inquiry. You had earlier committed that the employee would provide unfiltered testimony very soon, only to reverse course following revelations that the employee had a bias against President Donald Trump, and that you had received a secret early account of the allegations. As the so-called impeachment inquiry gathers information that contradicts the employee's allegations, we ask that you arrange for the committees to receive public testimony from the employee and all individuals he or she relied upon in formulating the complaint. And then they go on to detail the allegations and the way in which the complaint was alleged. And then the knee-jerk reaction from the Democrats to immediately announce to impeach President Trump, even though no evidence had ever been presented. And everything that the whistleblower has said has been actively denied and, I would say, refuted, considering the fact that we have the actual transcript of the phone call between the President of the United States and the President of the Ukraine. Now, obviously, Adam Schiff and the Democrats are very nervous about having this quote-unquote whistleblower testify before Congress, not only because of the fact that they colluded together to bring this in, they more than likely are guilty of breaching the Espionage Act, but also because the weight of these allegations is not going to hold up under the intense scrutiny of hours and hours of testimony from the Republicans in Congress and on those committees. But now the NYC Barr is calling for AG Barr to recuse himself from any Ukraine-related matters, including Ukrainian involvement in the 2016 election and the Biden crime family. Absolutely incredible. They must be really, really nervous. The New York City Bar Association on Wednesday called for U.S. Attorney General William Barr to recuse himself from all Ukraine-related matters. If he fails to do so, he should resign or, failing that, be subject to sanctions, including possible removal by Congress, the statement said. The NYC Bar said that since Bill Barr was mentioned in the transcript of Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, he should not be allowed to investigate anything related to Ukraine, including CrowdStrike and the Biden crime family. How convenient. Mr. Barr's failure to recuse himself from any involvement in the DOJ's review of the whistleblower complaint and its disclosure to Congress undermined that principle. In order to limit the impact of his earlier failure to recuse, we call upon Mr. Barr to immediately recuse himself from all further DOJ investigations of Ukraine-related issues in which he is or was allegedly involved, including any continuing or future investigations into alleged Ukrainian involvement in the 2016 election, allegations relating to Mr. Biden or his family members, or the president's efforts to pursue those allegations in connection with U.S. assistance to Ukraine or to other nations. AG Barr and U.S. Attorney from Connecticut John Durham are currently conducting a sweeping investigation into the origins of Spygate, which includes Ukraine. The entire Russian witch hunt known as Spygate originated in Ukraine, and CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity company that investigated the DNC servers and concluded the Russians hacked the servers in 2016, is in Ukraine, and President Trump mentioned this on his July 25th phone call to Zelensky. He said, I would like for you to find out what happened with this whole Ukraine situation. They say CrowdStrike, I guess you have one of your wealthy people. The server, they say Ukraine has it, Trump said to Zelensky during the July 25th phone call. Now, no wonder why the Trump-hating NYC Bar Association wants AG Barr to recuse himself from all Ukraine matters. The left is most terrified that the public will find out the truth about CrowdStrike and the DNC servers. They were never hacked by the Russians, and the entire Russian hacking story was fabricated by Hillary Clinton, and the media helped push the hoax for over 3 years. This is a last-ditch effort to try to cripple the Justice Department and take Bill Barr out, because they know that Bill Barr is going to get to the bottom of this. It's just absolutely unfathomable to me to think that they could try to hoist this upon us, to say that Bill Barr, because he was mentioned in a call about Ukraine, he's the Justice Department leader, okay? By all rights, he should be the one looking into what happened in Ukraine and what happened with the DNC servers and what Hillary Clinton started when this whole sordid affair began several years ago. To think that Bill Barr could not perform his duties in a manner befitting his office in an impartial way is another fairy tale created by the Dems and their allies in the NYC Bar Association. I'd like to see how far they plan to take this. Are they actually going to sanction Bill Barr? Are they going to disbar him so that he could not even hold the office of Attorney General? I think that they would go that far. But hopefully this whole thing is going to come to a head well before then, and these people are going to be held accountable for the crimes they have committed, this coup against a duly elected president of the United States, the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. All right, next, the Democrats' star witness who testified on Tuesday apparently sat on the board of a Ukrainian NGO with deep ties to George Soros. That's him right there, William Taylor. This is coming from Undercover DC, Tracy Beans. On Tuesday, the 15-page opening statement from William Taylor, who some are calling the Democrats' star witness, was leaked and reported by the legacy media outlets. Ambassador Taylor is thought to be a linchpin in the case by proponents of the impeachment inquiry, while Republicans are stating he has no direct knowledge or evidence of quid pro quo with Ukrainian President Zelensky, and that his opening statement and testimony is rife with hearsay. In his opening statement, Taylor noted that he served as ambassador from Ukraine from 2006 to 2009, and in the intervening years, he has traveled back and forth, and he served on the board of a small Ukrainian NGO supporting good governance and reform. Now, Tracy was able to find out that the board that he's speaking about is called EEF, or the East Europe Foundation. It's got a strong partnership with the Open Cities Association, and Open Cities Association is funded by Open Governments Partnership, which accepts large amounts of funding from George Soros's Open Society Foundation. So he's clearly in bed with people who have a vested interest in removing President Trump. Now, Taylor has also had strong connections to other dark power players, many of whom are embroiled in the spying scandal currently under investigation by AG Bill Barr and U.S. Attorney John Durham. Taylor was a senior advisor to the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council, where he often presented roundtable discussions about policy with David Kramer from the McCain Institute. Evidence has shown that David Kramer was responsible for laundering the Steele dossier into the FBI on behalf of John McCain, as well as providing the dossier to BuzzFeed. Also a key player at the U.S. UBC is the Atlantic Council, a Washington, D.C.-based organization funded in part by Viktor Pinchuk, a Ukrainian billionaire who's donated heavily to the Clinton Foundation, and CrowdStrike and co-owner and CTO Dmitry Alperovich is also a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. CrowdStrike was responsible for the DNC servers, of course, and claims it was Russia that hacked the servers and provided the information to WikiLeaks. CrowdStrike also held the servers privately for analysis rather than allowing the FBI to forensically analyze them. And now, in that famous call with President Zelensky, President Trump asked him to look for those missing DNC servers that he suspected were in Ukraine. Now, in addition, the Atlantic Council worked closely with Victoria Nuland, the Obama administration's Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, and Nuland was the one embroiled in that controversy after that leaked telephone conversation she had with the ambassador to the Ukraine at the time, Jeffrey Pyatt. Remember, that was on YouTube, and we watched that here on the show. In the call, they were discussing who they wished to install in the Ukraine government. Now, she was also embroiled in controversy regarding the 2016 election interference, admitting in testimony before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence that she and the State Department had hosted Christopher Steele. Former State Department employees Jonathan Weiner and Kathleen Kavelik are also under close scrutiny. And additionally, internet sleuths seem to have uncovered who the whistleblower is, and we've reported on that already. That would be Eric Ciaramella. He was mentioned by Louis Gohmert in questioning at a hearing on the Fiscal Control Board that governs Puerto Rico's debt because the executive director of that board used to be Ukraine's finance minister. Now, in photos discovered by Carol Quigley, Ciaramella is seen wearing a pin from the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council, the same U.S. UBC that hosted William Taylor as a senior advisor. David Kramer in the Atlantic Council, among others. Don't forget, the Atlantic Council is who sponsored Adam Schiff to come to the Ukraine when he put out the tweet saying that there was something weird going on with the president in Ukraine. Now, adding more credibility to the claim, threads on the topic are being retweeted by Powerhouse Flynn attorney Sidney Powell. I think that this obviously shows that a picture has been painted by the Democrats and their allies, George Soros and more. They clearly are all connected to each other. None of them have direct evidence showing that the president had any type of quid pro quo relationship with President Zelensky, and they are all acting on a script that they hope will bring the end to President Donald Trump's administration. All right, now finally, Mitch McConnell is deciding to buck up. He is supporting a resolution condemning the House impeachment inquiry. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is throwing his support behind a resolution that condemns the House impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump. Senator Graham's press conference sent out a statement on Thursday saying they would be introducing a Graham-McConnell resolution later that day, which will condemn the House of Representatives' closed-door, illegitimate impeachment inquiry. McConnell told reporters, "Obviously, I support it," according to a report from The Hill. The resolution, if passed, will put the Senate on record condemning the House and formalize their opposition. Overturning the results of an American election requires the highest level of fairness and due process, as it strikes at the core of our democratic process, McConnell recently tweeted. So far, the House has fallen far short by failing to follow the same basic procedures that it has followed for every other president in our history. McConnell had faced backlash in September for telling CNBC that he would have no choice but to take up the sham impeachment efforts in the U.S. Senate if Democrats impeach the president in the U.S. House. Under the Senate rules, we're required to take it up. I would have no choice but to take it up. How long we're on it is a whole different matter. Let's go ahead and take a look at that clip from back then.
Happen in the Senate if the House does get through with this inquiry and decide that they are going to impeach President Trump?
Well, under the Senate rules, we're required to take it up if the House does go down that path, and we'll follow the Senate rules.
There had been some discussion about, people literally going back to the Constitution and arguing there is no mandatory act on behalf of the Senate. Looking back at an interview that you gave in March saying you'd have no choice but to have a Senate trial if the House passed an article or more. But you're saying that if they did, the Senate would move ahead.
Yeah, it's a Senate rule related to impeachment that would take 67 votes to change. So I would have no choice but to take it up. How long you're on it is a whole different matter, but I would have no choice but to take it up based on a Senate rule on impeachment.
Now, here's the thing. Mitch McConnell is playing by the rules, and the Democrats are not. So I think that he is doing nothing wrong in saying that they would have to take it up. But again, as he stated, however long they decide to spend on it, it's a different thing altogether. They could very quickly just, dispose of it and get it out of there. And as I've stated in the past, there's absolutely no way that they would vote to convict the president and impeach him on any grounds because he has not done anything impeachable. All right, guys, last story for the day. Longtime Clinton advisor Philippe Reines and a person who has blocked me on Twitter, Hillary is leaving the door open for a 2020 run. Hillary Clinton's former aide, Philippe Reines, on Wednesday night told Fox News host Tucker Carlson that Hillary is leaving the door open for a 2020 run. She ran for president because she thought she would be the best president, Reines said. If she still thought that now, if she thought she had the best odds of beating Donald Trump, I think she would think about it long and hard. Tucker Carlson asked Reines, she hasn't foreclosed the possibility? No, she has not, Reines said. Reines added, this is a huge if. But if she were to jump in for whatever reason, and the party has moved someplace that she hasn't, then she won't get the votes. That's the point of the primary. There are, I guess, still 19 people. There are a few there in the double digits. She's not running because she has any anxiety about the Democratic field. She really likes a lot of the people running. She knows them well. She thought about some of them for her vice presidency, but there might be a reason that she would be the best person not only to beat Donald Trump, but to govern after Donald Trump, which is a part we don't talk about much, he said. Now, in this interview with Philippe Reines, Tucker goes through a couple of key social issues that are really defining the Democratic Party right now. And I think, in my opinion, it goes to the heart of why Hillary Clinton could not be elected president. in today's climate. She is quite honestly sounding like a conservative when placed up against people like Bernie Sanders or the Squad and these darlings of the Democratic Party in this modern age. And then at the very end of the interview, Philippe Reines lets something slip. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
She's become like the most reasonable person in the Democratic Party. That's scary.
She might be the best person to beat President Pence. I'm sorry, I meant President Trump.
Philippe Reines, great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
All right, so clearly Philippe is under the impression that President Trump will be impeached. And I tend to think that if Vice President Pence becomes president, Philippe might be counting on that fact. And under that condition, he thinks that Clinton could beat Pence in the general election in 2020. However, Philippe, that's never going to happen. President Trump is not going to be impeached. Mike Pence is not going to be president. And that wicked fever dream you're having of Hillary Clinton in the White House is not going to happen either. Well, another day and another plan of the Democrats to try and stop President Trump and now stop Bill Barr from getting to the heart of what happened in the Russia/Ukraine collusion conspiracy narrative. And again, they are going to fail. This impeachment is going nowhere, folks. President Trump is going to stay in his office, and in 2020, he will be elected again. All right, guys, that's all that I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you very much to all my patrons. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. If anyone wants to help out, there are links in the description of this video below. Please make sure to subscribe to my backup channels in case anything happens here. I will begin publishing there. And if you guys have any questions or tips for me, please send me an email at redpill78@protonmail.com. Also, don't forget to make sure that you have notifications turned on for this channel. When you go to my channel page, there is a little bell. Click that bell and choose all notifications. And if you don't have one already, go sign up on Twitter and follow me there and make sure that your notifications are on. Because even if you don't get a notification from YouTube, I always have a notification that goes out on my Twitter page that lets you know every time I put out a new video. I look forward to reading your messages. I look forward to getting the news to you on a daily basis. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the next episode.